Oh boy, this title is a mouthful. Halo Infinite campaign DLC, 10-year plan, original story, and sequels reviewed. I'm a huge Halo fan. We gotta check this out, man. We're talking about actual original story of Halo Infinite.
Okay, today's video is going to be an emotional roller coaster. We have a ton to talk about,
I might get heated,
including but not limited to
might not.
Halo Infinite's planned campaign DLC, the 10-year plan, a Halo game that was cancelled but now exists again, and original plans for Halo Infinite 2.
Okay.
I also found a video made by an X343 developer about Halo Infinite's original story that was meant to piggyback directly off of Halo 5 that is radically different to what we ended up getting.
Man.
I've never seen anybody talk about this video. Now, quick apologies for some of the details in this video being like a day late, but I recently found out that my eye is now infected.
That shit looks bad. That shit looks bad.
So, yeah, cue the flood.
I put some coconut oil on that motherfucker. You might be good, bro. This man infected with the flood.
Jokes to help me cope. So I need to get the sponsor out of the way first, but after that, we're going to dive into the
flood pours on
details imaginable.
All right, let's hear it, brother.
Today's video is sponsored by Opera GX. Opera GX is the ultimate web browser for gamers.
What are we talking about?
Like me, you have chronic ADD and need to keep tons of tabs open in the background to tab in.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Whilst gaming, well, Opera GX has you covered with its GX control features, which allow you to limit both the browser's RAM and CPU usage.
You know what's crazy, bro? I was looking at the there was this video that popped up on my timeline. It was about the Game Boy when it first came out and how like technology wise it was just so advanced. And it was like, yes, it has like 8 megabits or maybe it was kilobits of RAM. And I was like, geez. Wow, technology's evolved. And it's kind of funny how Nintendo has been a slow drip, but technology has come so far. Like that wouldn't even open up one of these fucking tabs, bro. That's not enough RAM.
I mean, as you can see right here, compared to Chrome, the difference in usage is rather drastic. I was very surprised.
What about Firefox?
Opera GX is
Real
also
Firefox.
extremely moddable, with dedicated wallpapers, including animated ones, like, of course, the one you can see here.
That's dope.
Of course, your boy had to go for the classic Halo 2 menu background. Of course I did.
Nah, I'd rather go Halo 3 all day. Oh, come on. Comment down below what would your... if you could make 80... use any fucking UI, what would it be? I'm curious to see what y'all prefer.
There's also background music, keyboard sounds, opening and closing tab sounds.
Man. No.
Custom splash screens, UI font and icons, GX icons,
How much
and
is this?
shaders that even change the
This better be a one-time purchase. I swear to God, if this is subscription-based, oh, I'm gonna be fucking tilted. Everything's a subscription these days, man.
look of your entire screen.
So annoying.
You can also enable and disable any individual mod really easily from the sidebar as well, and all of them can be downloaded very easily from the GX store. The Opera GX sidebar even has ChatGPT integrated into it now as well, with tools to help improve your productivity, helping to
should ask ChatGPT why was the flood not in Halo Infinite?
simplify complex topics,
Better
learn
question.
languages, and even plan things like itineraries.
Answers need to be there.
So thank you very much to Opera GX for sponsoring the video, and make sure you download today by using my link in the description. So
in his video.
Shout out to Rebs Gaming for being the one who uncovered most of the information we're going to be talking about today.
Shit, okay.
He is without a doubt the #1 Halo leaker right now, so make sure you go and follow him on Twitter.
I'm guessing he's had his channel revoked a couple times. If he's the #1 leaker, you'd assume he would have more subs. Like 3.35, like damn. That's high praise, brother. Shout out to that guy.
And also sub to his channel as well.
Yeah.
So, over the last few years, the most
Give him the
elusive
100K.
element of Halo Infinite has been this 10-year plan. So I believe it was mentioned only ever twice, with the latest mention being in 2020, so 3 studio heads ago, by the then studio head, Chris Lee.
3?
Only to never ever be mentioned again.
Man.
But, of course, we all latched onto the idea of this 10-year plan because, I mean, it was a pretty big deal. The idea with this plan, if you don't...
We're supposed to get campaign, firefight, updates in multiplayer. And it's just so much we should have gotten. So much, man. This is gonna be an angry video.
No, was that Halo Infinite was supposed to be the platform for the next 10 years of Halo. The idea was that all of the future Halo stories and campaigns and any multiplayer additions and expansions were to basically be done within Halo Infinite in a similar way to how Destiny gets its updates.
There's a lot of people out there in the Halo fandom. I'm gonna be real. There's a lot of people that don't like people in the Halo fandom that talk about you know, the issues with Halo. I think that you're the fucking issue. I'm not trying to say like you directly are the issue for like hating on people for talking about what went wrong, but like for real, if there's a problem and you don't talk about it, I see this at work, I see this in everyday life. If there's a problem and you don't talk about it and you just ignore it, guess what happens? The problem never gets fucking fixed. It doesn't. So it's good to bring attention to the things that have gone badly so that you can have better things in the future. Okay? So negativity can actually bring positivity. Positivity. I can't fucking speak. The concept of someone getting mad about that, it's crazy to me. And it's wild to me. It's like there's not a lot of people playing Halo these days. There's not. In retrospect to like Halo 3, Halo Reach. Like the peak of, and that's just the thing about the time period too. That is the infancy of online gaming for consoles. And that is the by far peak of Halo. So yes, when there are gripes I have about Halo, I'm going to discuss them. I'm going to react to them because this needs to be talked about until it's fucking changed. Because yes, they changed their name. The studio has changed their name from 343 to Halo Industries. And the switch to Unreal Engine is very promising. It's very promising. But I am not a guy that likes to sit up in optimistic land 24/7. I like to just, you know, jump down to fucking Earth and see what the fuck is actually happening instead of being in Cloud 9 24/7. I'm not trying to be cynical or anything like that. Maybe it's just my personality. I don't know. But it drives me crazy when I see people online and are like, wow, man, they're still talking about this? Like, come on. What else you got to talk about? It's like, oh, my God.
So, of course, the implication here is that we assumed that meant that Halo Infinite was meant to be getting campaign expansions. But that was never confirmed officially, nor has it ever been mentioned besides that one time where Sketch denied it happening.
There's no way that they did not plan campaign expansions. Like, I don't know exactly verbatim, and he's saying that they didn't say that, but, like, it was implied. Like, and not even that. If you play the fucking campaign and you played it all the way through, it is implied that you have more to come. If this is you're telling me we're gonna get one campaign in 10 fucking years? Come on now. It was definitely planned. What are we talking about?
Since Infinite's launch. However, that's where Mr. Rebs enters.
Okay.
So he was recently
Give me some hard evidence, baby.
Very early pitch document that was made by 343 leadership to pitch to Xbox leadership and to show them about Halo Infinite, and it included not only the dates in which Halo Infinite's campaign DLC was supposed to drop, but it literally includes the name of DLC 1.
2020 is crazy, by the way.
The first slide of this pitch document, though, covers multiplayer, which was originally meant to release in fall 2019.
Bad move. Even though they had planned this ahead, still bad move. Launch the fucking multiplayer and the campaign at the same time. You have two different player bases. There's people that play just the campaign. There's people that play just the multiplayer, and there's people that play both. Like, campaign is legitly I can't believe I just said legitly. I'm a degenerate now. But it is like, if you have a practice mode or a tutorial center, if you want to get good at a game, you went and you played fucking campaign. That's what you did. Like, that's what I did. Like, if I hadn't played Halo in a while, I still do this. Like, if I'm going to go play Halo Infinite, I'm going to go back and play the campaign so I can knock the rust off my tires. It's just simple. Like, you play it on a hard difficulty, like heroic or legendary, and then boom, bada bing, when you jump into multiplayer, you're not a scrub. It's simple.
Team. Good lord, what we got was
you gotta have them at the same time.
Could you imagine how bad it would have been 2 years before that? 2 years less development on Halo Infinite. I don't even want to think about the state of the game.
Low-key hindsight is 2020. It might have not been the worst thing ever. It really might have not have been. I know this is a crazy take because obviously the graphical lack of enhancements they had on the game. But realistically, if the rumors are true and they were trying to have a BR, which I think is actual, I think that's a real thing from all the leaks that have come out lately, and apparently they're still working on it, possibly. If that's true, they shouldn't have delayed it. And it's crazy because I say delay, but you had rising tides at the time with Apex, Warzone. Fortnite's already established, but those two, like, those are still the big three when it comes to BRs. I think Apex right now is taking a hit, and so is Call of Duty, and I think that is directly tying to a lot of people that enjoy BRs moving over to a hero shooter that you might have heard of called Marvel Rivals, because it has a shit ton of players right now. That could be the case. I don't think BRs are dying necessarily. I think that people are enjoying good games, and I don't think Apex and Call of Duty have done much to innovate and make their game better. I think Fortnite is a perfect a perfect situation where Fortnite's going to be around forever. I don't think Warzone and Apex, just by design, can survive forever. I don't. I can see easily those players leaving. Those are like the people that play those games. It's like the how do I say this? It's almost like when you go NPC mode and you want to play something. Those games are kind of like the 2Ks and Maddens and NCAAs of the world, right? FIFAs of the world. It's like that. I'm not trying to hate on the games at all. I like them a lot. I do. But you get what I'm saying. Like when you want to turn your mind off and just enjoy something, or maybe your buddies are playing something, those are the games to go to. But when there's a better game out, you're gonna go play the better game because it's better and it's new and it's fun and it's a new experience. You're tired of playing the same shit over and over. Like, come on. So yes, I think Halo Infinite should have probably dropped earlier because they could have withered the storm. They could have competed a little bit better. You know, they kind of came into the game right at Warzone, Apex, and Fortnite were at their peaks.
Had it launched then. But what's interesting is that with this launch date, the multiplayer for Halo Infinite was meant to launch a whole year before the campaign. In this pitch document here, we can see the earliest traces of the Academy, which by the sounds of it was pretty similar to what we ended up getting.
Yeah.
They also intended for there to be operations this early on as well, which is likely what their work in progress name was going to be for Seasons, because
probably going to be Modern Warfare 2 operations like they had. That shit was dope as fuck. I love that shit. Playing that with my buddy, split screen co-op on the couch. Oh, baby. We know that wasn't in the game.
From the get-go, Infinite was meant to be live service, and so Seasons were kind of a given. Now, the pictures that they used for these operations were likely just placeholders at the time, but it is interesting to note that they used an Anvil poster for one of the seasons, given that we actually did end up getting an Anvil update for Halo Infinite.
That is
interesting. And also MCC, now that I think about it as well. I swear they will do literally anything besides actually adding playable elites, but
so stupid. At this point, we should have already had playable jackals, grunts, and brutes, and different like game modes and stuff like that. Like, how much fun would Griffball be playing as grunts? Everybody's a fucking grunt. That sounds phenomenal to me. Playing Infection and deciding what race you want to play as, that sounds cool. You could even make like tactical style playlists or game modes. Like, I don't understand. I think it's just laziness, maybe lack of funds. Wait, no, they're owned by Microsoft. So yeah, I think it's probably laziness overall. And maybe the track record has on their funding sheet, it's kind of lowered and lowered because the amount of consumer, the consumer base there isn't high enough for them to invest more money. It's a little too risky. Maybe that's not a money issue. Maybe that's a talent issue. I don't know. And also 343 has changed drastically over the years. Maybe that's an issue as well. There's a lot of ways to talk about this.
Digress.
A lot of issues to go around.
Campaign and multiplayer ultimately ship separately, as was the plan clearly all along, but this is interesting because as far back as early to mid 2018, I'd heard rumors and whispers that there were plans to release the two separately, so it's interesting to see, all these years later, those whispers vindicated. There's then another slide that details the unique traits of Infinite's...
I was pretty plugged into the Halo leaks and stuff like that. I never heard once, like in 2018 or 17, that Halo Infinite was going to release separately. I don't know. This is a sidebar.
It says that the story of Olympus, which at the time was the working code name for Halo Infinite, begins with the multiplayer in 2019, where signs of the game's overarching spiritual reboot will be visible. From this early stage, multiplayer was designed to have the lowest barrier to entry and be the most accessible Halo game of all time, which in doing so, they had hoped would bring people together and begin the spread of positive word of mouth.
If they would have done that, they should have came out with a BR from the get-go. If you really want to have as many people possible, and here's the problem when you do that, when you spread yourself so thin with different game modes. If you had Firefight, you had a BR, you had a multiplayer, which the multiplayer is going to obviously have a bunch of different game modes, which obviously didn't really have a bunch in the beginning. It took a long time. What did it take, like 9 months for us to get like a new season where we actually had a little bit of variety going on? But you split up your player base so much, and then you also have a huge problem on top of that because you already have a player base that's split up because you have fucking Master Chief. Oh, the Master Chief collection. It's like, if you want to have a platform for 10 years, we already have a platform that is remnants of the past 10 years and further. Why don't you just merge them together? It's like you got these Infinity Stones. Why not just put them bitches on a gauntlet? And kind of source the player base a little bit more in line with each other so you can have more players in more modes. I don't know. Crazy idea. I don't know. Maybe stupid.
Before the campaign launched. They also say that what you do here, so what you do in this first year of Infinite's multiplayer, matters and carries into the future, which implies to me that they also had long-term plans for the multiplayer's narrative as well. Ooh. It's been my kind of headcanon for a while now that had we actually gotten campaign DLC, that eventually the campaign DLC and the multiplayer narrative would have eventually kind of met up and started to interweave, which would have led to our multiplayer Spartan being...
This seems like copium. This sounds very similar to the talking points that the Overwatch community used to have when they were talking about PvE. I don't know why, but it is very reminiscent.
Introduced into the main campaign story in a sort
I think this is too much.
Fashion.
Too much going on.
One of Rebs' other sources also told him that as a part of the long-term plan for the multiplayer, larger modes like Tatanka, which is Halo's Battle Royale, but we've got a lot more to talk about regarding that later, and also Halo 5's Warzone were meant to be added down the line. And Warzone is quite an interesting one because I didn't know this until now, but there was actually official concept art made of Halo Infinite's Warzone, which you can see right here.
That'd been cool.
There's not much to talk about regarding this, it's just Warzone with brutes, but it's interesting to know that this idea even made it to the concept stage. It wasn't just an idea on a whiteboard.
Imagine playing as an elite or that grunt, bro. Could you imagine killing a fucking Spartan as a grunt? Like, if it was possible to play as a grunt. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, you think the ninja, like getting a ninja kill was big when Halo Infinite released. It's like, oh, I got a ninja kill. People would make like reels and shit like that. Dude, imagine the clips of people playing as grunts. I really want this to become a thing, bro. I just, come on, bro. Halo Industries, I know I can be a fucking asshole with my commentary, but dude, you have the IP that could fucking surpass Star Wars. Like, what other IP has flopped over and over and over again and over again so many times, but the love for the franchise is still there, where they're still pushing shit out. They're just rolling with the punches. I can think of none other but Star Wars.
But the next slide is where the juicy stuff begins. This slide details the campaign's release, which was supposed to be fall 2020, which was the original release date of Halo Infinite that we were all told publicly. On the first campaign slide, you can see that the plan was always to release it alongside the Xbox Series X, which at this point was still operating under the Scarlet codename, and also, by the looks of it, we were meant to get Rex with the campaign as well, which makes me think that Warzone would have been part of the campaign update, so to speak. But then we get to another slide that details the new formula of campaign in Halo Infinite, and there are some very interesting details in this slide. So the narrative was supposed to be universal and highly systemic, which to me implies that the main story was not only meant to incorporate
universal, multiple biomes, multiple environments, multiple bro. Sounds more in line with Halo Infinite than me. All we got was a little grassy forest.
Both the campaign and multiplayer narratives, but that also both of these narratives would change in concordance with the story as it went on, adding even more credence to my earlier theory that multiplayer would have eventually intertwined with campaign. Now, we did see a little bit of this in Halo Infinite, where like the live fire door changed or the menu background changed in concordance with the live service narrative, but this heavily implies that we'd be seeing changes like these in response to what was going on in the main story, which again implies that the two stories...
When this happened in the campaign, did anybody think he was actually going to die? Did anybody think that? Like, I'm not gonna lie, the fucking voice actor was phenomenal for that guy. Some of his lines were fucking phenomenal. Obviously, he was annoying a lot of the time too, but still. But yeah, I don't think anyone thought he was gonna die. This was a cool scene, but like I was like, Chief's gonna save him.
Stories were intrinsically linked.
Plot armor.
And then to take that a step further, the campaign was also meant to have social hooks as well, which again, to me at least, implies a connection to the multiplayer. This new campaign formula was also meant to have connections to Legacy, which I think were very evident in the final product of Halo Infinite, given, like, you know, all the litany of combat evolved inspiration and
yeah, they definitely tapped into it. What they did was fucking good, for sure. Like, the environment looks fucking phenomenal. The gameplay's phenomenal. So good. It's just the execution and the ambition, especially when you call a game Halo Infinite, the ambition of this game needs to be way higher. And the execution needs to be way higher. And it wasn't.
All the memory sequences, taking quotes from like Halo 3 and Halo Reach and all that.
Yep.
But, you know, I can't help but wonder if there was originally more to this. Now, this is a huge classic HiddenXperia stretch, but just hear me out, right?
Oh boy.
I've been writing a video about these things recently, so they're very much front of mind. I wonder if this connection to Legacy is the reason that the sandtrap glyphs popped up in the campaign. That's a very specific example, but I wonder if this connection to Legacy
I think was an Easter egg, bro,
to kind of root all of Halo Infinite's new campaigns in with Bungie's stories and Bungie's worlds far more than Halo 4 and Halo 5 to make them feel more familiar and to try and get a lot of the people who played Bungie's games but not the 343 games back on board.
I do not think that's the case. I think this is an Easter egg to make those people appreciate it more. This isn't something that's going to get more people to play the game. You're thinking too deep into it.
Yes, it's very specific, but the sandtrap glyphs showing up for the first time in 14 years.
And there's a lot of people that played Halo 3 and they would have Halo 3 and they would have saw this and they would have played sandtrap all the time with the amount of different custom games and stuff. They wouldn't even recognize this shit. Straight up. They would not even recognize it. Like, probably majority of people that played Halo 3 on sandtrap wouldn't even recognize this. Now, there are a lot of people that see it and they're like, whoa, this is sandtrap. But come on now. What are we talking about? This isn't going to get a wave of people to play it because, oh, I played Halo 3. I played sandtrap. Wait, they got that in the game? Oh my God.
Campaign, alongside Offensive Bias and the Halo 3 Guardian Sentinel, feel like...
Now that... There's a lot of book fans out there that don't play the new games anymore. They love the original games and they love the books. That got people to play Halo Infinite, especially the campaign. And I wish they would have dove down that rabbit hole a lot more. They fucking just licked the surface. They didn't do
prime examples of this in action. I may be reading far too much into this. I'm a sucker for doing that, but I really just feel like they really wanted Infinite to feel like a natural extension of Bungie's stories and Bungie's worlds to make it feel more familiar. And like I said, Halo 4 and Halo 5, that both kind of felt like they were trying to get away.
Well, no, it's 100% what they were trying to do. I just think you're looking too deep into it. They 100%. That's why they changed the art style to begin with. They nailed the art style. They nailed the feel of Halo. They did. They didn't do enough. Simple as that, bro. They just did not do enough.
From the Bungie era too much. Anyway, extreme reach aside, they wanted the campaign to have deep replayability, which, I mean, is a given, right? But also for it to be evergreen and for it to have yearly updates, confirming that as a part of the 10-year plan, we were supposed to get campaign DLC. But we're not done there.
Every
the next
year?
slide literally name drops the first DLC for Halo Infinite. DLC 1 was meant to be called Atriox's Reign, and it was supposed to release in fall 2021.
I remember people talking about the Warlords, bro.
By the sounds of it, this DLC was meant to pick up directly as the main campaign ended with the reveal that, of course, Atriox is still alive, and that the Banished still control most of Zeta Halo. In it, we had to stop Atriox.
There was supposed to be like warlords on each island in the campaign or some shit like that. Bro, that would have been so cool.
From using,
I really think like the campaign is cool. It was fun. I liked it. A lot of problems with it. A lot of things I love about it. But it does feel it feels like there's not enough going on in the game. It feels very empty. It feels like a husk. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a lot more. I guess maybe that's a problem when you take a Halo game that's very linear and you try to push it into like an open world style game. And then obviously there's a lot of sections where there's a bunch of enemies and stuff like that. But just like going through like from area to area, I just feel like there should be more going on, I guess. I don't know.
The ring and save humanity once more, which, yeah, is a very ambiguous description. And in doing so, the expansion would have us crushing Atriox's warlords one by one to reach the seat of his power.
This should have been in the base campaign, to be frank.
The Bastion. So, there's a lot to unpack here.
Because it's kind of how we did
with those warlords.
4 bosses, right?
So, we covered this a few minutes ago, but the warlords were a huge cut campaign mechanic. The idea was that each island was meant to be controlled by a sub-faction of the Banished, and each sub-faction was led by a warlord, who was a named unique boss. And to eliminate them, you had to clear out several unique structures and kill their guards before assaulting their stronghold and killing them. It's interesting that DLC 1 would have been where the Warlord system was added, because I always assumed that that was meant to be in the game from the get-go, because, I mean, the Warlord system is essentially a more developed form of the Outpost that we ended up getting.
We had certain characters that would have a bigger health bar. It wasn't ideal. Or like a cool weapon.
A large portion of the open world.
Yeah.
Which implies that the original map didn't have those outposts and was thus very, very empty. You know, the more I learn about the development of this game, I just feel like it needed like 10 years more in the oven, man. Like, imagine if the multiplayer released in 2019 and the campaign in 20...
Plot twist. Microsoft, we think they're tripping right now. The reason that they haven't fired 3/4, well, I guess they kind of did. They fired a bunch of people. But still, what if they actually have just been cooking just back in the lab this whole time in the background, just hammering and hammering on this just expansive, just waiting on technology to update it and stuff like this. Just crazy game. A man could wish.
2020. The state of this game, if that had happened, would have been diabolical. However, if that's not the case, and the map
been a nice feature, I don't think it'd been diabolical.
Those outposts in, then that makes me believe that, as we've all speculated and possibly maybe even heard via leaks before, that each DLC would come with a new biome, and that DLC 1's biome would have been filled with these sub-factions that controlled sections of it.
They could have also done this with a DLC campaign. They could have you playing as a brute. Imagine playing as a brute, taking the same concept you had in Halo 2 as playing as an elite, and turning against the Horde, right? Turning against your own people. They could have done the same thing with the Banish. They could have easily done the same thing with the Banish. They could have done a bunch of different routes, and then that could introduce a new update. You could play as brutes. Like, why can't you play as brutes in multiplayer? They're the same kind of body type as an elite and a human. Like, why not? They're like that. You know, they're that kind of skilled warrior. I don't get why they haven't done it, and I think that'd be a great way to do it. But we'll probably have to wait 10 years for that to ever happen.
As for the Bastion, where Atriox was supposedly holed up, I don't really know what this is meant to be, to be honest with you. My guess would be just Aatrox's like main stronghold. I don't think this is any relation to Bastion, as in the shield world that was teased in Halo 5, and then I think it was Point of Light expanded on it being like where the precursors are being reseeded. I strongly doubt that the intention was for that to ever be in any campaign DLC. I think the Bastion was just kind of like some ambiguous generic name for...
They should make it I almost said a Fable game. A Far Cry style game. This is like branching off like Halo Wars style. But it'd be cool to... The precursor book, I forgot what it's called. It's fucking phenomenal. It's a trilogy. I forgot. It's got Guilty Spark in there when he's a human. Phenomenal book series. Go look it up what I'm talking about. You can search it up on Google and you'll find what I'm talking about. That book is, those books are so good. So good, bro. So good. There's some parts in there that are a little weird for sure. The whole overall arc is really weird, but it's fucking phenomenal. Like if it makes you appreciate Halo 4 and 5 a little bit more, you know, with the Prometheans, but still, it's so good.
Aatrox's main stronghold.
Yeah, that'd be a crazy
DLC
game.
DLC 1 would have been the DLC that also brought us Firefight as well. So, the reason that this 10-year plan and all of this campaign DLC never happened, well, do I even need to tell you? You know what it is already. You're saying it up there. You may even be saying it out loud.
I've said it multiple times.
Mismanagement.
Not enough shit.
As always, shock horror. The old leadership were not very good.
Actually, too much shit. Too much shit quality.
Which is a bit of an understatement, I think. We know that now.
Yep. Too many skins, too much FOMO, too much battle passes. Actually, not enough battle passes, maybe, for some people. But yeah, the whole direction of the game is not infinite. It was just modern gaming. It should have been called Halo Modern Gaming.
Survived the mismanagement of the previous leadership was then finally sent to the chopping block itself when the move to Unreal 5 was locked in.
Yep.
So that's the first big chunk of news in this video covered, and I gotta be honest, I feel equal parts vindicated and depressed that we finally got confirmation that campaign DLC did exist, because before this we'd had rumors, we'd had leaks, we'd had speculation, we'd had like little bits of like info and teasers, but we'd never had hard confirmation. This is hard confirmation that it was planned, it was part of the 10-year plan, and obviously it didn't happen.
Shout out to that leaker.
But I also feel really depressed that it got cancelled. I really just hope that if they do try and make one of these platform long-term games again in the future...
If they would have just stuck with Staten's fucking vision, I feel like this game would have been phenomenal. Why did they change from this shit? What happened?
Halo 7 or whatever. They actually do follow through with campaign DLC, because I've had the opinion for a long time now that campaign should be treated equally as multiplayer long-term. Like, multiplayer constantly gets updates and campaign never gets anything.
Yeah.
The scale shouldn't be like that.
You know what's hilarious too about that? They correlate so well together as well. Because if one evolves, say you have your campaign evolve, well, there's a lot of maps that people gave flack for, like Halo Reach, for like porting maps from the campaign, for instance. Skybase or Swordbase, phenomenal map, amazing SWAT map. I love SWAT. That's one of my favorite maps to play on. It's literally cut from the campaign. So if you evolve and add more biomes and more story arcs with the campaign, which I guess it's a little bit more tricky because it's an open world concept with Halo Infinite. So this is probably the biggest curveball. I think just like following and chasing trends is kind of what killed Halo Infinite. The battle pass, monetization, open world. It just, those negatively impact the game tremendously. Like there was like if you go open world, you go BR. Duh. Like obviously, it's like you have a Fortnite map. Why don't you go BR? But you don't do that. You don't. Like simple decisions. Like okay, if you're gonna go open world, you go BR. If you don't go open world, you go linear. Well, keep updating the campaign, and then you could pull those different maps and put them into the multiplayer. Like it's just simple logic, and then it just makes it easier for your team to work. I just don't understand how they make decisions and how it's run with Microsoft's money backing them. It just the more I think about the situation, it hurts my brain, man. And I'm just some random ass fucking dude, and I feel like I could lead this a little bit better. I don't know anything about developing video games, but it seems like there's a lot of business decisions that just seem obvious.
Equal between the
maybe
two
it's hindsight. I don't know.
Well, this could have been that, but alas. Okay, moving on. When I was doing some research for this video, I stumbled upon the website of an ex-V4.3 developer, in fact somebody who was very high up at V4.3, on which was a very interesting video.
Okay.
This video was a sort of, what's the word, like a vibe inducer, shall we say, for Halo Infinite's original story that revolved around Cortana and the Created and their galaxy-wide lockdown, and also our resistance against them. The video was meant to resemble the final story and also to invoke many of the similar emotions that that story would invoke. And I gotta say, I really like it. I'll play it and then we'll break it down.
Let's get the Xbox logo. It's legit. All right. Maybe he added that on there. Why does this look familiar?
We can't protect ourselves against it. We run before the wind. We think that it will carry us forever. It will not.
Tell us a story from before we can remember.
There is a light somewhere.
The ship is dead. This emergency transponder is the only way.
We are in the midst of a colossal and history-making blackout. This is what officials are.
How are they gonna broadcast this with the blackout? How would you even know about a blackout? Okay, this is bugging me
saying
already.
is the tripping of power systems for hundreds of
I do
miles
think
in
that the
several
story-
big cities today.
I think the way they ended Halo 5 was disgusting, but I do think they potentially could have had a very good story. I'm very eager to read this book. Like the what is it? The Empty Throne or some shit that's on Audible. It came out I think February 18th or something like that. I completely forgot about it until today. So I'm listening to that right now, and just to let you know, if you're gonna read that book, the first 2 chapters you don't even need to listen to. It's literally just going through shit you already know.
It may not be
Kinda annoyed
much
me.
light, but
I want to know that movie.
it beats the darkness.
Zombie movie.
Brian, it's
28.
we come to you by a cell phone, but there have been so many glitches
28 days, maybe 28
today.
weeks.
You see everybody walking down the street.
Oh, the lights go off, television goes off.
Bam.
Buildings were evacuated, so clearly there were hundreds and hundreds of people on the streets.
I go up to the roof, look out, darkness.
You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life. Sometimes.
This is something they don't tap into enough. Like humanity. They don't tap into this at all, bro. They really need to tap into this more. Like the times they do it very, very well. Like Halo 4 did this very, very, like with the composer and everything. Like, dude, that was phenomenal storytelling in that scene where everyone dies except for Chief. Now, the correlation of why he didn't die, it might bug a lot of people, but still, very, very good storytelling in that part. Like, touching humanity is such a huge thing to emphasize. That just the vulnerability, the essence of hope. They do it in cutscenes, but they don't do it in the campaigns often. Like they do, okay, they do a lot with hope, but like humans, like ODST did it very, very well. Obviously, so
The more
humans.
often you learn to do it,
Halo 5 did it terribly.
the more light there will be. Despite the worst odds, do it.
The sad part is this is actually the next. Well, it's not the next, but this is like the new games we're gonna be getting. It's probably the next 4 storylines right here.
It's the only.
Should have all been in
good
Halo
fight
Infinite.
There is.
We got milked. And y'all are getting mad that I'm hating on it. Crazy. Just ride the fucking crashing car.
Pretty good, right? I gotta be honest, as someone who strongly dislikes the Created and evil.
I forgot about that term. The Created. Interesting concept. There's probably a reason they skipped it.
Cortana and the stuff that Halo 5 story set up, I gotta say, the vibes and the tone and the atmosphere of that video, if we had a Halo campaign that invoked those same emotions, but under a different context.
No, better yet, because I feel like they'll never do this. They're not going to give us a story between Halo 4 and 5. They're not going to give us a story of Halo 5 in between the story between that and Infinite. Better yet, a way better idea. Because portraying that in a Halo game is kind of tricky because you obviously want Master Chief to be the main person, and you can't have Master Chief everywhere, right? The best way to do it, and bear with me, is to make I'm mad that I'm even saying this, to make a TV show about it. Like what? Like, okay. And I've mentioned Star Wars already in this video. But there's just one Star Wars show that came out. And, you know, there's a lot of people that probably, if they pick up and watch it, and they might not know what the hell's going on. But it kind of explains it to them. It's called Andor. It's a very, very good show. It's a very good show that doesn't even need to be Star Wars. But it is Star Wars, so it's even cooler. That's the same story that they could be telling in between 4 and 5, in between 5 and Infinite. These are stories like, why the fuck did they decide to change the whole lore and water down the story first for no one? And they just got by Netflix, by the way. Probably got it on the low end, you know. So probably traded them a box of biscuits and a tub of jelly for that show, for the rights to the Paramount show. This is what they should have done with the Halo show. Why not?
Because I still think the creators are stupid, then my god, we would be feasting. We'd be feasting. The general tone feels like
they've done it before with ODST.
To the tone of the Infinite that we ended up getting.
Halo
it does
Reach.
have some of the same tones of hope, but it feels a lot more like desperate and visceral and almost depressing. It feels like we've already lost in this trailer. I love the use.
The tricky part about this is you have you don't really have a villain to fight. You have the Guardians, you have the created. Halo's a shooter. Now it can be human as ODST, it could be a Spartan, whether that be 2, 3, whatever. It would be interesting. Like, would you play a Halo game that is like based around humans revolting? Like, I know there's storylines with Buck, for instance, and other ODSTs. Well, I guess he's a Spartan now. But yeah, this is an interesting concept. I don't know if Halo would be able to nail this because this doesn't feel like a big time shooter vibe, you know? This feels like a whole different genre. I don't know how they would approach this. I think they knocked it out of the park with Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. I would love to see them branch out and try different genre games to flesh out the story. I think they could do it. I really do think they could do it because you have cinematic games that are like movies pretty much nowadays with next, and it would be cool to see like a really high fidelity Halo project that's not centered around just action, because the story itself, if you're gonna bank on the story that you've written, you should be able to pull off something like this. I think this would be better in a TV show, but we saw what happened with the last one, so who knows.
Use of TV and radio broadcasts talking about the blackouts that were caused by the Guardians.
Yeah.
They make them feel kind of, I don't know, more grounded and more realistic, as opposed to Halo 5, where I didn't really feel a connection with any of the characters or the events in the story.
It's because you weren't around in these big cities.
I gotta say though, the fact that they used footage of not only Cloverfield and Reach's
Cloverfield's an amazing movie.
and World War Z,
American's
but of
Godzilla.
We Are ODST, and 28 weeks later, that was a Freudian slip, 28 weeks later in this,
they got 28 years now, baby.
You guys know I have a high fixation on the 28 days and weeks and years universe.
A man of culture.
And any relation to that with Halo, I adore, and I think that the clips that they used fit amazingly. The only other piece of content we've ever had for this version of Infinite Story is this piece of concept art right here, which
I'm mad as hell. Why they got the torso version, brother? If you're gonna pick this, if you're gonna use this Cortana, brother.
Again, I gotta say,
I do
really like, but at the same time, I also just don't like the creative stuff, and I really, really want to move as far away from it as possible. So, although I'm happy we didn't get this story, I would love to see a future story with these vibes. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments.
This is hilarious because this is so similar to the way Star Wars is. There's a huge part of the fandom that wishes they would just retcon the sequel trilogy, and it is just bar for bar what happened with 343. It is nuts. I'm not saying I think 343 honestly has a better standing than the sequel trilogy, to be frank. I think that there's a decent story outline that they can follow where it's cool. Now, on the other hand, with Star Wars, there's a lot of character arcs that got completely destroyed. And you could still argue the same with Halo, like with Cortana, obviously. At least with Cortana's destruction of her character arc, we got a very, very compelling game, and that was Halo 4. That campaign is very compelling. It is very, very good. The art style, I hate it. The multiplayer, not a fan. But that campaign was something special, storytelling-wise. It's different, though. It's not the Halo I grew up with, but it was cool.
Okay then, let's loop back to Infinite's campaign DLC now,
Yes.
because one of Reb's sources recently shared some
Topic at hand.
very tantalizing information. Apparently, a small group of campaign designers and artists had started creating new campaign content, quote, during the mid 6 or so months of 2022, so from March to September roughly. They were working on a new biome that they say is one that Halo has never had before.
Lava?
Along with a handful of new enemies, enemy tactics, which I presume is AI, weapons,
Halo Mustafar?
and vehicles. However, there's a little bit of a caveat.
Bro, the Banished belongs on a lava planet. What are we even talking about right now with the red? Oh my god. That just fits.
Here. So they then say that this work was never officially sanctioned by 343. It was done off the books by these developers in preparation for the campaign DLC that they assumed they'd be working on down the line. This, by the way, by extension, supports the idea that even in 2022, there were still plans for campaign DLC, because why would these devs waste 6 months making preparations for it if they already knew that campaign DLC was never happening? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Apparently these developers were really on board with doing campaign DLC, but leadership ultimately decided to scrap it. Presumably because at this point in mid-2022, they needed all hands on deck fixing and updating the, frankly, disaster that was Halo Infinite's multiplayer.
I don't know how I feel about the Timeless. I mean, we don't know much about them at all. And I feel like we skipped over the Prometheans so quickly, and then we skipped over the Created so quickly. Like, they can't stick with one thing. Like, they keep on trying and it just doesn't fit the bill, and they get in the writer's room and they're like, okay, fuck this, let's scrap this, let's make up a new villain for the next game. It's
now,
like,
one small detail that I just want to focus on real quick was the fact that they said that they're working on a biome for Halo Infinite that no Halo game had ever had before.
It just hit me. It feels like they're creating enemies for the books. It's like the writers of the books need new enemies, and it's like, all right, we're gonna just throw something out there, and you're gonna run with it. It's like they're making content, like they're making Halo games to make the book stories. It should be it should be they're just making the video games, and then book stories help. Like
Back in my head for a while trying to think about what biome this could have been, because I feel like Halo's kind of hit every biome possible.
Lava.
And then I realized there's one that it kind of hasn't hit.
Lava.
So the BTB map
Yes.
Scar that came out in Season 4 was set in like a really dark, rocky lava plain. And we kind of half had that on Meridian in Halo 5, but realistically Meridian didn't really look anything like Scar.
No.
So I was wondering, maybe this is a long shot, complete just baseless.
This is not a long shot. It's definitely a lava planet.
Speculation, but
for
I
sure.
wonder if
or a lava biome.
This BTB map, which was made, or rather which was released, like 9 months after the work that they were doing on campaign DLC was ended, used some of their scrapped work. Just some food for thought. Okay, switching gears to something very interesting and something that I never thought I'd actually talk about in any degree of honesty. Let's talk about Halo Infinite 2. Nope, I'm not even kidding. It turns out that 343 were actually working on Halo Infinite 2 for a while at least after Halo Infinite dropped. So, according to one of Reb's sources, this sequel project was in development until the switch to Unreal was officially locked in, and it began development pretty much directly after Infinite released. The hopes with Infinite 2, which is what the source calls it, were that it would literally be Halo Infinite 2, so it'd build off the same foundations in the same framework with the same team, which is, I think, quite a Bungie style.
I'm not gonna lie, that just pissed me off. I was hoping my computer was gonna freeze.
A way of, at least an old school Bungie style way of developing. But when new leadership took over in September 2022, it was scrapped with a move to Unreal 5. By the sounds of it, these same developers who...
I don't understand the concept of that. Like, obviously you want to make more money or whatever. Just pour it into their existing game already. Like, you could still do that. Like,
worked on Infinite 2, then started working for a couple months on concepts and prototypes for the next campaign in Unreal before the January 2023 layoffs that included all of these developers, one of which is one of Reb's sources. This dev also told Rebs that he has no idea if any of their Infinite 2 concepts, which were made in Slip Space, are being developed in Unreal 5.
That, I know it's just a pretty picture. Well, it's a pretty gross picture, but that's a pretty picture in my opinion if you're a Halo fan. That is what we need. Please, for the love of God, please, 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 please,
or not, or if they were even moved over.
Ugh,
and
so
I think that this
gross
is basically them in a roundabout way saying that they're not sure if their vision of Halo 7 is the vision of Halo 7 that Halo Studios are/will go with. Now, one weird contradiction that I'm not sure how to resolve is, why would there be developers working on campaign DLC throughout 2022, under the assumption, of course, that the 10-year plan is still going on, whilst there were also some other developers working on a sequel? Because if
it's called poor management,
if that 10-year plan was still in place, then that sequel they were working on wouldn't be coming out for another decade.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the previous campaign DLC leak and this Infinite 2 leak are a case of Chinese whispers, where it's basically the same project, but it was spoken down through various people and details were left out or things were mistranslated, and it ended up kind of converging into two separate leaks. Because frankly, the more you think about it,
I wouldn't be surprised if they were all over the place with developing different projects and seeing which project was best. It's kind of the PlayStation model where, you know, they tried to develop a bunch of different live service games, and the first one was Concord, and that one didn't stick, so they canceled a bunch of them. They lost a lot of money. I think it was millions, maybe billions. I don't know exactly the full number, but yeah, PlayStation's feeling the effect of that right now, and I could definitely see them in a corporate room where it's like, all right, we're gonna have 5 different teams. You develop this, you develop that, you develop this, you develop that, you develop this, and we're gonna figure out the right direction we need to go. Versus having good leadership, understanding the direction you need to go in the first place, and dedicating all your manpower to that direction, which would probably have more updates and hopefully a new campaign DLC or of some type, you know. So maybe that's where maybe they divided their forces too much.
DLC and Infinite 2 are quite interchangeable.
That would actually be really realistic.
The worlds and the biomes that they're working on for the campaign DLC could have very easily been for Halo Infinite sequel and vice versa. This source also said that it's likely that new leadership will outsource campaign development.
My little toy soldier.
However, that sounds quite worrying, but I will say, I did some research based on this before filming this, and looking at some of the jobs on Microsoft's job site, I found that a narrative systems designer job at Microsoft at Halo Studios has now closed, which implies that there has been someone hired to be a narrative systems designer, which I don't think would happen if there was no campaign team at Halo Studios.
Or they decided not to even hire someone for that position. They're like, you know what, we just had to put it out there. Now we can close it, and we can just focus on what we really want to focus on, which is the battle pass in the next game.
So I don't fully believe that campaigns are being outsourced. Now, interestingly, this source also said in parallel with the development of Halo Infinite 2 was the development of Tatanka, Halo's Battle Royale mode.
Oh, here we go.
And that segues very nicely into talking about Tatanka and also what it will be, because Rebs and his sources have revealed some pretty big details about this mode / game and what it's become and what it will be if / when it eventually ships. So, some backstory real quick. Tatanka was Halo Infinite's Battle Royale mode that started development sometime in 2020 by Certain Affinity.
Take that legendary
and had
emblem
playtest
off that
images that were
motherfucker.
leaked at some point in 2022 that were taking place within Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Then, in January 2023, it was reported that 343 were now developing Tatanka alongside Certain Affinity, and that although it had started off as a Battle Royale, it may have evolved in a different direction.
I hope it did.
And up until recently, that was literally all we knew about Tatanka. But, like I said, Reb spoke to somebody who not only developed Tatanka, but actually played it physically as well, and he shared a ton
It's
of
playable?
information about it. So it was indeed a Battle Royale that tied into Joe Staten's campaign narrative, which to me sounds like Joe Staten's long-term campaign narrative that would have been delivered via campaign DLC. Tatanka's map was a handful of smaller fragments of Zeta Halo, each with a different biome that you traverse between using man cannons. You started the game in the launch bay of a ship and dropped into the map in ODST drop pods.
Of course.
Where you then killed players and completed mini objectives that rewarded you with power
I'm not gonna lie, this part,
fragments of Zeta Halo,
I don't know how I feel about that.
each with a different biome that you traverse between using man cannons.
You know,
you started the
very
game in the
Halo,
launch
but
bay of a ship and dropped into the map in
interesting
ODST
concept.
drop pods, where you then killed players and completed mini objectives that rewarded you with power items and other upgrades. Meanwhile, Pelicans would deliver vehicles around the map, including the Falcon, and
course.
downed players would turn into AI bubbles that could be moved around and revived. So apparently 343 had weekly internal playtests for Tatanka throughout 2022, which
So it's just a BR with Halo flavor. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know about the man cannons. Now it depends on how big these islands are, right? Is it? Comment down below if you think it's possible for us to actually get this.
I assume is where this image leak came from. But after the leadership change in 2023, Tatanka was
Yeah, I heard rumors that they were testing a BR mode back in the day when the beta testing was going on. I played the beta testing. It was a lot of fun. But it was like a secret beta testing. I heard that they were doing a BR, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, they got 100. They got like 300 people in there." And there's a lot of rumors flying around back then.
rebranded into Project EETHUR, which supports Bloomberg's report of it potentially going in a different direction than a Battle Royale. Tatanka in its initial form was apparently cancelled in summer 2023, when the pivot was made to the Unreal Engine and also to the next game, which at that point was like
Wait, they pivoted all the way back then? Oh my god.
the Halo 1 remake. According to the developer
didn't realize
who
this was
worked
in
on and played
2023.
Tatanka, it was not only far from
Oh, it was
finished,
2024.
but apparently 343 just didn't have the resources to provide a competitive cadence of updates that would allow it to rival the likes of Warzone, Apex, and Fortnite.
Well, right now those two games are they're hurting right now. Not Fortnite, but
And I mean,
The latter.
given how Halo Infinite's post-launch content has been, and especially at
update
that
every
point
year.
was, that doesn't surprise me. Fortnite used to do like weekly editions, like new weapons and various gameplay editions
they still do here and there.
every week. Meanwhile, Halo Infinite was getting a new season every 9 months at this point, so you know the two don't quite line up.
Still doesn't
They
have
also
Hayabusa,
said
by the
that
way.
apparently Infinite shock weapons made balancing vehicles nigh on impossible, which I can see, and for some
cares?
reason the developers of Tatanka weren't allowed to add much to the sandbox. So it seems like
What?
Tatanka/EETHUR, whatever it ended up becoming, was cancelled in summer 2023, and that was it. But that's not the case. One of Rebs' other sources thinks that EETHUR is in fact Tatanka but ported into the Unreal Engine, whereas another source heard from a certain Affinity employee that by March of 2023, Tatanka, or EETHUR or whatever it was at that point, had changed from a Battle Royale to an extraction shooter. So this is where we introduce another new character, Grund.API. Now, you may or may not know him. Grund.API
This is a really good move though to switch to Unreal, because you're going to be able to port a lot of different pre-existing models and just work in general on the old games into Unreal and be able to work on it directly that way. I don't know exactly. I'm not a game developer or anything like that, but that was a big talking point that was talked amongst the gaming industry when it came to the change in direction. But oh man, it's like you keep on changing it over and over. Now it went from BR to fucking extraction shooter. Like, what are we doing, man? This is what happened to Avowed, because I think it was like supposed to be an MMO. There's a bunch of different games like Dragon Age Veilguard. I hate mentioning these games, but they're like recent, right? They're on the mind still. That was supposed to be a live service game. So, man, when you change the direction of a game and try to recycle the parts of a game, you kill the soul. And maybe there wasn't a soul to begin with, but fuck. Like, name me a game that changed drastically over and over and over again. The only game I could think of which is ironic, and it was a banger of a game, right? It's Halo CE. Halo CE was not a first-person shooter at first, but it turned out very, very good. And we know the rest,
API
right?
is a very reliable leaker.
That's ironic.
And
That's
API
the one that
diver,
pops in
and
my
just
head.
kind of all-around wizard who knows a lot about Halo and how to get information. And it turns out he somehow has access to one of Halo Studios' internal databases. I know that sounds ridiculous and like some Matrix.
Yeah, I've seen him on Twitter.
Style, I'm hacking into the mainframe type thing, right? But I can
Take
promise
this
you,
with a
I've
grain
met
of
the
salt.
guy, I've spoken
Grain
to
of
him on a
sand.
litany of occasions. That's
Salt.
not like a meme. That is actually the kind of stuff that he does. So, in accessing Halo Studios' database, he found a file referencing Eka that was created in October 2023.
I feel like this could get a copyright strike, right?
Potentially 4 or 5 months after it was supposedly cancelled.
Ballsy for
Then,
putting
just
this out
over a
there.
month ago, Rebs also reported that when the switch to Unreal 5 was confirmed, Tatanka, likely in line with this switch, was not only moved over to Unreal 5 and then renamed Eka, but was also turned into a separate and entirely new Halo game. And it's said that all of this happened in 2022. So my guess would be that when the new leadership took over in September 2022,
Well, we're all
that
over
was
the
when
place.
they confirmed the Unreal change, and that was also
No, those timelines don't add up at all. Something's wrong.
when Tatanka was ported into
mean, these are
Unreal
all
and
rumors,
renamed
right?
Eka
So-
and became whatever it is now.
We're
Kun.API
all over
then
the place.
discovered that in June 2024, dedicated testing servers were created for Project Eka, which means that for 9 or so months now, Eka has been in a playable, testable state. That also implies that it's quite a long way through development as well, which, I mean, given that it's Genesis,
Halo Studios, hit me up. Hit your boy up. I'll sign an NDA to play that motherfucker ASAP. No Rocky. Shit, we might be cool too. I'll stop talking shit about y'all motherfuckers. Y'all sling me that motherfucking beta. Shit. Yeah, y'all gonna see a motherfucking shift in in tone. I am optimistic though, but I will talk about the past, and the past shouldn't bother y'all. Y'all ain't the past. Y'all ain't the 343 that started Halo 4 or 5, right? Yeah, y'all are completely different. All right. Yeah, so leave me that code, man. It's like, get on that puppy.
this was potentially over 5 years ago now, you would hope would be the case. So, unless Eka ends up morphing into the multiplayer component of Halo 7, which, granted, I don't think is too improbable, but if that's not the case, that means that, theoretically right now, there are 3 Halo
lot of
games in
theoreticals
development.
being thrown
There's
around.
the Halo 1 remake, there's Project Eka,
Yeah.
and of course, there's Halo 7. You know, for a while,
I think we'll get the remake, and I hope that thing is on PlayStation. Because I'm going to sell that motherfucking Xbox. I'm going to be like, all right, baby. You can play on my PlayStation. We can get rid of this digital Xbox. We good. I'll play on my PC. It's a wrap. But yeah. Until obviously, the new Xbox comes out, and it's not even a console anymore. It's a PC with the Windows and everything. We have Steam on the Xbox. That'll be nice. I'll buy one for then.
always assumed that the Halo 1 remake would be outsourced to a different developer,
Got a
whilst
Halo
Halo
machine
Studios
there,
made
just
Halo
covered
7 in
dust.
the meantime, but now I'm starting to think that with Eka clearly outsourced to certain affinity, maybe Halo Studios are the ones making the Halo 1 remake. Of course, this is all just a theory and baseless speculation, but if that is the case, then that means that theoretically we're getting 2 side projects before Halo 7, because I doubt that Halo Studios are developing Halo 7 and the Halo 1 remake at the same time.
Well, then you also said that they were developing different directions for the future at the same time. So why not do it with the? Well, yeah, they probably don't have enough manpower. They fired a lot of people. They've been hiring a lot of people too. But yeah, I hope they whatever they do, I hope they knock it out of the park.
Now, whether getting 2 side projects for the next game is a good thing or a bad thing, we honestly we can't say because we know nothing about EETHUR. What I will say though is
the best way to do it is to push it out like Call of Duty. I think that would be the best style. Have a game every single year. But you need multiple studios to do that, and Microsoft's not. I mean, they bought a lot of studios lately, but I don't think Bethesda wants to, or Activision wants to make Halo. Actually, who knows? Maybe in the future, that'd be interesting. Have an actual Call of Duty developer make Halo.
Is if EETHUR does end up being like a separate entity,
might end up like Halo 5.
Theoretically, I mean, unless it is Halo 7, which I don't think, that would mean that we're getting 2 spin-off games. Well, a remake and a spin-off game before Halo 7, which, I mean, given how much we've all asked for spin-off games in recent years, could potentially be pretty good.
Yeah.
And as for when these 2 games, the Halo 1 remake and EETHUR, might release, I mean, obviously it's all just, again, theories, but like, given how long EETHUR's been in development, 5 years now, and given that it's been tested now for like 9...
Brother, that don't matter. That don't matter. I think Concord was under development for like 6. That don't matter. Now the IP attached to it does help it a lot. Like, I mean, Final Fantasy Rebirth, the remake, that was in development for years. Wasn't it like a whole decade or something like that? But yeah, just because it's been in development for 5 years don't mean nothing. Just means they poured a lot of money into it. So hopefully it sees the light of day, and hopefully it's good. But who knows?
9 months.
Who knows the way they spend their money these days?
I'm not gonna put money on this, but I have a feeling it could maybe release this year.
Ow! Brother. It came out today. So in 2 days when I release it, right? Brother, it is March. And we don't have a teaser yet.
I mean, to add some fuel to that fire, there are rumors going around, like right now, very verifiable rumors, mind you, by very legit sources, that Xbox are releasing their...
This is true. This is gonna happen.
...first ever handheld console this year. And so, if that's the case, surely they want some big projects to launch alongside that handheld. And I mean, what...
I don't think this is the case. It's not the Xbox. Marketing wise, you should. You 100% should have something that comes out with that console and optimize for that console so it plays exceptionally well on that console, so that console actually has a sliver of a chance, because the handheld market is so competitive. You have the Steam Deck, you have the Rogue, you got a bunch of shit out there, man. It's phenomenal products. Handheld industry has been killing it. I'm excited for that one. Obviously, because I love emulation, and if I can have my Game Pass and Steam on it at the same time, that sounds amazing. But still, I don't know, because when I think of handhelds, I think of PlayStation, right? You got the Vita, you got the PSP, you got the what's the new one called, the PlayStation Now Plus, whatever. I don't even know what the new one's called. But that one's doing very well as well. So yeah, I don't think of Xbox when it comes to handhelds at all, because have they ever had one? I guess maybe the ROG, but like still,
bigger exclusive, at least.
I don't know, man.
That's
a mixed bag for me.
Not so much anymore. But what bigger Xbox exclusive is there, long term at least, than Halo?
Windows.
It lines up quite well. I still firmly believe that the Halo 1 remake is going to be next year, because next year is the 25th anniversary.
Nah, Blinks, bro.
Of Halo
Bring
1,
Blinks back for the handheld.
Which is a good time
Shout
to,
to Blinks.
of course, release a remake of the game. But again, that's all speculation. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. So, once again, I want to give a massive thank you to Mr. Rebs for finding out all this.
Shout out to Rebs Gaming. Shout out to the other guy, too. Was he going to post him on there? The other guy that leaks. I forgot his name. It was the grunt guy. Phenomenal video. This is a lot long. I did not realize this video was 32 minutes long to begin with. My video's nice. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long. So yeah, I double the length, of course. I do this typically. But yeah, I just wanted to sit down and talk about all the new rumors being talked about on Twitter, and my guy HiddenXperia. Phenomenal, man. Love him. Love the content he pushes out there. Him, Mint Blitz. There's a bunch of them, bro. Go give him a like, go give him a sub, tell him the Ether sent you. Look at the comment section though. See what's popping. One of the many crimes people don't talk about too. It is how they left Halo 2 and Wither. Halo Wars 2 and Wither. The 10-year plan for Infinite was essentially started by Halo Wars 2, introducing the Banish. I'm forever salty they didn't fix it before they left in the dark. Yeah, I really wanted. Was it Red Team? Man, I really wanted to see them link up with Chief. I really wanted them to link up, bro. And I think Halo Wars is better than Halo Wars 2. The Halo Wars campaign is fucking good, bro. It was, especially the time. It's this nostalgia for sure for me. Like watching the trailer for the Halo Wars. Oh my god, when it first popped off, I was like, dude, this is what we need. But yeah, I hope they don't abandon Halo Wars games either. That would be actually very disappointing. There's a lot of source material they could pull from. You know what they could pull from? I keep on saying this, but the Precursor trilogy, that could work. I think a Far Cry style game would be a lot more fun though, given the cast of characters and the environments. But still, he finally got infected. Next video title: Biomass for breakfast. Jesus. Yeah, I was trying to leave that one alone. I'm not trying to be mean to the guy or anything. Some people are, insecure about stuff like that. Halo Infinite having more content that didn't happen than content that did happen is just downright tragic. Now, that happens every single time. When you have a great IP, that's always going to happen because your fandom is always going to think of crazy shit. Like in this video alone, I thought of like some crazy ideas. In my opinion, you might think they're subtle. Maybe you might think they're stupid. But to me, I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, that's the video, man. We're at what, an hour, 10 minutes already? Yeah, I'll be going a little bit further. So comment down below your thoughts on the whole situation. My name is Trey Swish. This is the Ether. Hit that sub button to join the Ether. I'm not the Ether. We're the Ether. And yeah, man, just let me know what you're thinking, man. I could talk Halo all day. Obviously, I just talked about it for an hour straight. My throat is killing me, and I've had probably one of the worst weeks, 14 days, in a long time. Sorry, I haven't posted in a while, so there's a lot of stuff I need to get to. But yeah, hit that like button, man. It helps me out tremendously, makes my day, pushes out to more people. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.